Grab a cup of tea or listen as you go, ladies. This is your hour with Dr. Zoe, your life and relationship coach. With encouragement, on-point insight, inspiring guests, health tips, and advice, Dr. Zoe helps busy women keep their mind in the game by redefining your superwoman. You're listening to The Dr. Zoe Show.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Zoe, and you are a woman who is strong and capable and sometimes tired, and that is just okay. You have come to the right place. I am a licensed psychotherapist and a life and relationship coach, and I believe that every woman has a superpower, and my passion is to help you find it, embrace it, and share it with the world. If you want some encouragement, please connect with me by texting the word JOIN to 38470. That's 38470. You'll get on my newsletter where I send out a lot of encouragement to all you super women out there holding it down. Ladies, I have to tell you, I have been so encouraged by people in the community who have come up to me and told me that they listen to my show or they're getting something out of my show. And that is the reason why I do this. So thank you. I think about you guys throughout the week. And my goal, of course, is to provide content that's helpful and useful to you women as you're doing your life. So today, we're going to be talking about women and money, how and why you need to take control of it. I'm not Suze Orman, and I hope that you guys know who she is. So if you don't, you need to go Google her, ladies, because it's time to take control of your finances. Research has shown that we are super good at pinching pennies and hunting down sales. We're also pretty good at saving in general, which is a good thing. But when it comes to longer, bigger picture planning, ladies, we're dropping the ball, which means we're shortchanging ourselves. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking all about money, and I have a fabulous guest, Miss Diane Gardner, to give us some tips and answers as we go into tax season. It's tax season already. I feel like it was just tax season. But there's some new laws that have come into place in 2018, which are going to affect you. And if you're like me, you probably don't even know about it. I have a list of questions I'm going to be asking her. So before we get started with that, it's Superwoman Win and Superwoman Bomb time. So every week, I give you guys a little insight into my life, and I offer some camaraderie by telling you my Superwoman Win and my Superwoman Fail of the week. And I'm also going to be asking that of every guest I have on the show. Why? Because none of us are perfect. And no superwoman has it together, has it all together anyway. We have it together, just maybe not all wrapped up beautiful like a bow. And we can still share our gifts, even from sometimes broken places, and certainly from mended and scarred places. So I want you to know that I know you're not perfect, and I want you to know that I'm not perfect, but we all have gifts to share regardless. So my Superwoman Win of the week is that I made it to my daughter's honor roll award ceremony, which I was able to squeeze in between dropping kids off of school, dropping my son off at bike practice, and getting ready to drive down here to the station for this show. So it worked out for me so that I was able to get in there. I was there, I was present, my baby saw me, I took pictures, we did the whole deal. Definitely felt like a Superwoman win because my morning was crazy and I made that. And so that actually goes into a Superwoman fail. Now, it's not mine today, but I couldn't think of my own, which is probably a good thing. But as I was sitting there in the ceremony with my daughter, I started thinking about the mamas who weren't there and seeing, some of the kids who didn't have parents there. And my heart was hurting a little bit for the mamas that weren't there because they were at work, because their schedule didn't allow for them to be there to watch their kid, do their ceremony thing or get honored. And so as I was thinking about that, I was just thinking about some of you women who might be out there working, maybe on a lunch break right now, and you've had that situation, or, that situation is coming up. And, I think a good tip would be to ask your teacher, your kid's teacher, or someone that's going to be at the event to take a picture and text it to you, so that when you pick up your kid, and let your kid know you're going to do that too, so that when you pick up your kid, you've already seen the picture, you can talk to your kid about the picture, it'll start a good conversation about the event, and your child will know that you're invested in what they're doing in their life, even if you can't be there in that moment. And also for you mamas, I just want to let you know you're doing a good job. We can't do everything all the time, but you're doing a good job and your children will feel your heart. So that would be kind of talking about the Superwoman Wheel today. So today's topic, women taking control of their money. More than a third of American women are the breadwinners. Enough said. That means we got to take control of this, ladies, right? And so today I have a certified tax coach. She is a best-selling author. She helps people dodge the tax bullet. And her tax coaching sessions, this is kind of crazy, has resulted in a combined saving of over $1,550,000. She's the author of Stand Apart and Why Didn't My CPA Tell Me That? That's what I want to know. Why did my CPA tell me that? So I'm so excited to have Miss Diane Gardner here today. She's going to be helping us with a lot of our tax questions, money questions. Welcome, Diane.
Hi, Dr. Zoe. I'm so happy to be on your program today.
Oh, good. I am so happy that you're here. I feel like it's just such a timely topic. Of course, we're going right into tax season, and we women need some help. So before we get started, I've got to ask you, what is your Superwoman fail and your Superwoman win of the week, of the month, of whatever you want to share?
Okay. How about of the last week and a half?
Sounds
I have
good.
2 fails.
You what?
I have 2 fails. I'll start with that.
Okay.
I had an employee in here who I terribly misjudged when I hired her. I thought she was capable of doing all this stuff. It turned out she had some self-sabotaging issues going on, to the point that she really sabotaged my business. She took my internet down for several days.
Oh, no.
She hid my router, things like that. And that was a terrible fail. That really hurt us badly.
Of course.
The other one is I had another team member just recently resign via email. She didn't even come in and talk to us. And so those really hurt because we're in tax season.
Of course.
So those are failures that you always hope you've planned your way around, that those kind of things would never happen. And then they do.
Yes,
and
thank
so
you
have to just make the best of it.
You do. And you know what? I was thinking about that on the way here. Thank you for being willing to take your time out of tax season, which I know is the craziest season for you right now, to come talk to ladies about these issues. So thank you. And so tell us your Superwoman win.
My win is I get to fly out to Atlanta on Friday, and I'm going to be spending 2 days masterminding with some of the top tax coaches across the country on Saturday and Sunday, and then fly home again on Monday. And I'm so excited to get to go do that.
That's
It sounds really nerdy for those who aren't into taxes, but for us, this is fun.
I get it. No, that's definitely a Superwoman win. And you have certainly risen to the upper echelon of, this business, which is just amazing, and why I wanted to have you on this show. So I have a question, and probably other women do as well. What's the difference between a tax coach and a tax preparer? Or tell me, I don't even know what all those terms mean.
Right. And they all sound similar, don't they?
Yep.
You have your accountant, your tax preparer, your CPA, an enrolled agent, a tax coach. What's the difference?
And I don't even know what my tax guy is. I need to ask him, what are you? He's been working for me for like 15 years, and I don't even know what he's called. So can you help us out?
Because it really didn't matter to you.
It didn't. No, I just wanted help. I'm like, can you take care of this? Yes. Okay.
So just a quick little synopsis of various kinds of accountants. You hear CPA all the time.
Right.
And then you hear words like enrolled agent.
Right.
So a CPA is licensed by their individual state. They may or may not specialize in income tax. A lot of them specialize in cost accounting and in various things more in the manufacturing world. A lot of them in the smaller CPA offices actually do a lot of taxes. Some specialize in audit. Just kind of depends on where they want to specialize in. If you see the letters EA, which stands for enrolled agent after somebody's name, they specialize in income tax.
So that's what we want.
I am. Enrolled agents are licensed by the IRS, and we are licensed to work in all 50 states. So it really is nice for when you're crossing state borders and stuff. And
okay.
If you hear the word tax coach, that is somebody who has taken additional training classes and stuff to help interpret the tax law in a way that it benefits their clients, and they're proactively giving advice to their clients.
But you're a tax coach and you're also an EA, so you can give that advice and then you can also go do it for them.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
That is what I think all superwomen need, right? A tax coach who is also an EA.
Right.
And they can get a hold of you, and you work nationally, right?
You bet. Yes, I
Okay.
do work nationwide.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm hoping none of them are using a non-licensed accountant or tax preparer, because that gets a little scary. There are a bunch of those out there, and they don't necessarily stay up on the continuing education requirements and those kinds of things. And you can get some really bad results in certain instances.
Okay, so women, when you're doing your taxes or finding someone new to do your taxes, or maybe like me, I have never asked my tax guy for any kind of documentation. He just does my stuff for me. He's awesome. So we should be asking for what? Like, what is your certification number? Are you licensed? Or is that what we should be asking for?
Yes, yes. How are you licensed? Where are you licensed? What's your experience level? I know people never ask me that kind of stuff, but I guess it helps that I've written all these books and stuff. So they kind of assume I know what I'm talking about.
Of
But
course.
even in my early years, nobody ever asked me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary. You're putting your life in that person's hands, and you want to know that they know their stuff.
You're right. And I think that for me, even, and I'm sure a lot of women, we get caught up and we don't even know anything about this. Like half the stuff you just said in the beginning of this, I don't even know what you're talking about. So, but what I did hear was EA and tax coach, and both together work well. So I think what happens is we probably get overwhelmed and we kind of shut down, right? And we're like, I just want somebody to take care of this for me. Because I can tell you, probably when I was in my early 20s, I tried to do my taxes by myself. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but I think I had just started working and someone's like, oh, you can do your taxes by yourself. I messed up so badly. I ended up owing all this money more money it seemed than I even made that year. And after that, of course, I never tried to do my taxes again. And so I was just convinced that it's just too complicated. I can't do it.
And a lot of people feel that way.
Sure.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That's not uncommon at all.
And maybe it's true because the tax laws continue to get more and more complicated, don't they?
They do, even though they say they're simplifying it. They seem to complicate it when they simplify it.
So let's talk about that, because I think I told you before the show, as I've had friends and people knowing that we were going to talk about some of these things, they started asking me questions like something my friend was telling me about property tax laws that they're changing this year. Can you tell us about that? Because I own a couple properties and now I'm a little bit worried, like, should I have done something? What do I need to know?
Right. Yes, yes. In the 2017 and previous tax law, you always would deduct your property taxes on your itemized deduction schedule, which was your Schedule A on your tax return,
right?
Unless it was for rental properties, and then it went on a rental schedule.
Okay.
Well, for 2018 going forward, that deduction is going to be capped at $10,000. So it's going to be your property taxes and your income taxes and potentially sales tax, depending on what state you live in. That number is going to be capped at $10,000. So if you live in a state where your property taxes are, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 a year, plus you have income tax withholding, you're going to be capped at $10,000 and lose what was a pretty nice deduction for you.
Okay. So I've heard that people are filing before the end of it's too late, right? Because it's after January. So talking about that's not really going to help anybody. So is there anything that we can do, or we just need to know now that we're going to lose money?
Yeah, now you need to know what a lot of people were doing was paying those property taxes in 2017 so they can go ahead and take the deduction on this year's tax return, knowing that going forward it was going to be limited. So it was a little one-time little blurb that they were able to do, but it didn't apply to everybody.
I wish I would have known that. Okay, great. So we know that now with these new tax laws, if for you women who own property, that's something that's going to be an issue. Can you tell us what else is going on in 2018 that should be on our radar for women that we need to be asking our tax people?
Right. Well, for 2018, they've changed the standard deduction amount. In the past, you either took standard deduction or you itemized your deductions. Well, in 2018, they basically have doubled the standard deduction amount, and it's not exactly, but pretty close there. Doubled the standard deduction amount, which is going to cause a lot of people to not be able to itemize their deductions. They'll actually get a bigger deduction by taking the standard deduction.
Oh, okay.
So that's a big one that's going to come as a little bit of a surprise when those 2018 tax returns are done. And they've always had an itemized deduction schedule, and now they don't.
Oh. And
that's going to be why. It's because the standard deduction increased.
Oh, well, maybe that'll be easy because then we won't necessarily have to go through and do all those itemizations.
Right. For some people. Now, you'll still have a group that will itemize.
Sure.
But then we have the whole issue with exemption. Personal exemptions are going away in 2018. And in theory, the increasing of the itemized deductions is supposed to make up for this. In actuality, it's going to kind of remain to be seen on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, I don't even know what a personal exemption is. What is that?
Personal exemption is the deduction that you get for you, for your husband, for your children, that type of thing on your tax return over and above either standard deduction or itemized deductions. So it gets subtracted from your income before you get to the taxable income number.
Okay, I kind of got that. We're getting ready to go on break. So we will be back in just a few minutes. We're talking with tax coach, best-selling author Diane Gardner, asking tax questions, which I hope are helpful for you ladies out there. We'll be back in just a minute.
People ask me, how do you have so much energy? I am not a coffee drinker, but I love the benefits of matcha green tea. More antioxidants than coffee and a smooth energy, not the jittery kind that lasts me all day long. Perfect for you supermoms too. I have searched the world over for that perfect matcha for my smoothies, and I have found it at Kiss Me Organics. You can get it too at kissmeorganics.com. Enter the promo code Dr. Zoe, DRZOE, for 10% off and free shipping. Experience the smooth, healthy, organic energy of matcha green tea. KissMeOrganics.com.
Hi, it's Dr. Zoe. We are back here talking with tax coach Diane Gardner. We're talking all about your money today, ladies, and I'm going to ask her a couple more questions that I hope are really beneficial for you, and then I'll be following up talking about you, your money, your kids' money, money. So, Diane, thank you. I have to say, I'm not very knowledgeable about taxes. I just do whatever my tax guy tells me to do or give him all whatever information he tells me, which is probably not the best thing because I'm, like you said, I'm putting all of my, money, everything into his hands, assuming he's just going to do the right thing. So what are some questions that we should be asking our CPA, maybe every year or when we first get with them?
Well, generally, when you first pick a tax preparer or an accountant or a tax coach or whatever it is that you're wanting to work with, you really want to find out is, do they understand what you're doing in your life, whether you're self-employed or whether you're not, whether you're in a particular industry that you work in, are they familiar with that information? Because if not, they may not be able to give you the advice that you need. So let's say you were in a manufacturing business, and I don't work with manufacturers, and I'd be right up front and say, Dr. Zoe, I know nothing. Well, I know enough to be dangerous when it comes to manufacturing, and so I would refer you to somebody who specializes in that. And so you really want to kind of find that out: is the person you're working with, do they understand what you're going through? Do they understand your life, whether your business and your personal life, and can they give you that advice that you're looking for? Are they proactive? Unfortunately, most accountants aren't.
Right.
They're very quiet and they stay to themselves, and they're not good at sharing that information proactively. And that causes a lot of grief and aggravation to people.
Well, I think you're right about that. Yeah. And that's a really great point because I know most people find their tax guy by saying, who do you use? Right. And just because somebody else uses them and they work really great. And I'm always referring my guy because I have, some businesses and lots of complicated things that he does well, but that might not be right for somebody else. So I think that's an excellent question that we need to be asking. So here's some other questions I have. Well, first of all, for people who don't have businesses, and I know you kind of specialize in entrepreneurs, but for people who don't have business, do you have any tips for them for the tax year coming up?
For the tax year coming up is just really be aware of the changes in the tax law. So the tax brackets have reduced. We don't have as near high of a tax bracket as we had in the past. So be aware of what your new tax bracket may be. Watch those itemized deductions versus standard deduction. Watch your personal exemptions, your education credits. Some of those kind of things will have a little bit of changes to them under the new tax law. Okay, so just paying attention, be aware. And then for those who have businesses, there's quite a few other things with pass-through income and those types of things that land on your personal return, and being aware of the new tax rates, some of those types of things, the ability to expense equipment and things that we couldn't necessarily do before, just some things like that. Need to be aware of those areas. Okay. So for those mamas out there that have those small businesses, or for women that are running huge businesses, what about some questions like, can I hire my kids to work in my business? Or how can I write off my medical expenses through my business? Is that possible? Yes, and under the new law, both of those are still possible.
Great. So I can hire my kids?
For a little while.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, until they got it all settled. hiring your kids to work in your business, we're now able to actually take a bigger write-off than we could previously. Previously, it was limited to right about the $9,000 mark for them to be able to not have to file a return and pay income tax on it. Well, now they've upped their amount that they can earn and before they have to actually pay tax because the standard deduction has doubled. And so it's good news for those of us who maybe have college-age kids who are working in our business, or high school-age kids who are working on a regular basis, or even adult kids who have kind of come home to roost and now you've got them working in your business, that we can pass a lot more income down to them at possibly the 0% tax rate, which is really exciting planning news for somebody like me.
Yes, that is really exciting. That's really good news. So my son is probably going to be getting a job soon outside of my business, so he could utilize that as well then and not have to pay taxes.
He could, as far as the double standard deduction, but if you had him working in your business,
my business, yeah,
your business would take the deduction for paying him for whatever it is that he's doing. He's now producing your show or something like that. And then while you're taking that deduction, but if it's under his standard deduction amount on his own tax return, he can potentially take that money and not owe any tax on it, even though you've given him a W-2 and done what you're supposed to do on the Social Security and Medicare side. And so you just moved it from your higher tax bracket to his lower tax bracket and possibly saved several $1,000s of tax.
Awesome. Did you hear that, ladies? If you have kids, they can now be your employees and save some money. So, okay, I have 2 teenagers, so that's a really great thing to know. So thank you so much for coming, Diane. Can you tell me any other little tips that your CPA or your tax guy is not going to tell you, or maybe just 1 or 2 more things that we need to ask them as we get started going into this season?
Right. Dr. Zoe, one of my favorite ones is being able to write off all of your medical costs through your business.
Oh, yes.
It's really well for those single owner businesses where you don't have employees and it's just you and you're married.
So you have to be married to do it?
Well, to make it work the best, you need to be married.
Okay. So married, filing together.
You're right. If you're a sole proprietor or a single member LLC, and you can hire your spouse to work in your business, you can potentially pay that spouse via out-of-pocket medical costs, being reimbursed for them and not have to put them on payroll and be able to subtract those costs through your business, because now you've lost them because the itemized deductions is lower than the double standard deduction. So it makes a nice way to take a cost that you're no longer able to deduct and run it through your business and deduct it.
Amazing.
So those are some of the tips that are in my Stop Overpaying Your Taxes book that we love to give away out on our website.
So can you please say the name of that book again?
And actually, I'm going to give you a different book.
Okay.
It's called, let me actually do this one. We have several books, but the one that I like to give away all the time is the 10 Most Expensive Tax Mistakes That Cost You Thousands.
Yes, and I put that out on my social media, so you guys can see that book on my social medias and also find it where, Diane?
You can find it at my website at taxcoachforyou.com, and that's the number 4. And we give it away all the time. We just ask people to help pay the shipping and handling on it, help cover the cost that way. In here, it talks about hiring your kids, hiring your spouse, a lot of different things that can make a big difference especially in a small business,
right? Where
you're the solopreneur or you don't have a lot of employees, that type of thing.
I love that. That is so helpful. I'm going to be seeking you out. And ladies, she works nationally. So if you want to jump ship or if you're looking for somebody new, Diane is available, I believe. I'm sure you're crazy busy, but she works nationally and she can help you out.
Yes. And in my book, Stop Overpaying Your Taxes, we devote a whole chapter as to how finding the right tax professional is a lot like dating.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we get a lot of requests for that chapter.
That's great. I'll have to check that one out. Although I'm very happy with my current relationship, but you never know. You never know. So thank you so much for joining us, Diane. Those tips were excellent. You helped me out. I wish I had talked to you before the beginning of the year, but thank you. It's very helpful.
Oh, you're very, very welcome.
Okay. Well, we will be talking to you soon, and you can connect with Diane. She has on her social media at her website. If you're listening on podcasts, I will be putting all the links to everything we just talked about, and we'll talk to you later, Diane.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And I am Dr. Zoe Shaw, and we will be going on commercial break and coming back to talk about all the other money stuff, because taxes, of course, is one part of what we have to take care of yearly. But throughout the rest of the year, we women need to be on top of and dealing with our finances. So I will be right back talking about women and money.
People ask me, how do you have so much energy? I am not a coffee drinker, but I love the benefits of matcha green tea. More antioxidants than coffee and a smooth energy, not the jittery kind that lasts me all day long. Perfect for you supermoms too. I have searched the world over for that perfect matcha for my smoothies, and I have found it at Kiss Me Organics. You can get it too at kissmeorganics.com. Enter the promo code Dr. Zoe, DRZOE, for 10% off and free shipping. Experience the smooth, healthy, organic energy of matcha green tea. KissMeOrganics.com.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Zoe, and I am back still talking about money. So today we had our guest, Diane Gardner, and I don't have her website information. I was just about to give it out, but she talked about it earlier. And her book, you can find at Tax Coach for You, I believe, is her website. And the links will also be in my podcast. So I'm going to tackle some money questions. Obviously, I'm not a financial planner in real life, and I don't play one anywhere either. But as a therapist, I can tell you that money is either the main issue or the secondary issue with most of my clients that seek help from me. So I do talk a lot about money in my work, but it's more about how it affects relationships, and it does. And so here are some of the money questions that I've received from listeners and from clients. So we're going to tackle some of them. The first one is joint accounts. Yes or no? This is a super big one. Whether people are living together or getting married, it always comes up. And there's, of course, this idea that as we join, we should also be joining accounts. My answer for that is generally yes, because generally, obviously, you're putting your money together. It's a sign of commitment and accountability to each other to have a joint account. However, when money becomes such an issue in marriage that it is really working towards the demise of marriage, and often that bank account is a big part of it, I will actually prescribe that couples separate their money. Now, what we're not doing is taking the accountability to the relationship away altogether, but what we are doing is giving a little bit of freedom for the different ways that people tend to manage their money. And so my suggestion is that you separate the accounts, have separate accounts, and then you have to have rules that you are both respecting and abiding by when it comes to money. So who pays what out of which account? Both people should have access to the other's account at all times. And then also, what are the major purchases that we have to consult each other with? So often what people are arguing about is the little things like you bought that and you spend too much money on this, or you spend too much money on that, or I'm the saver, you're the spender, that type of thing. And so when you guys are able to come together and agree on certain amounts, so if it's over $300 or whatever your threshold is, you need to consult with me. If it's under this, you kind of have your free money for the month or for the week, however you guys want to budget. And that way there's a sense of freedom. And every little thing doesn't have to be necessarily accounted for, but that you guys are still being, accountable to each other in the way that you're dealing money. So the issue of joint accounts, yes or no, my answer is yes and no. So no at first, if you guys can make it work. And if that is something that is a huge contention in your marriage, then it's okay. And it doesn't mean you guys aren't healthy or doing a good job. It's okay if your money lifestyle, the way that you do it, is so different that it works better to have a separate accounts. So the next one is teaching your young kids to be good with money. It's funny because when my boys were younger, and I remember we were going somewhere and they wanted to buy something, I don't know. And I said, oh, I don't have any money. And my son was like, yeah, you do. Just use that card in your wallet. That's the infinite source of money. And I realized, okay, he thinks all the money, comes from that one little card, and it's, infinite. And so at that point I realized, okay, I got to start talking to him about money and what it is and how that works. And of course now he's 16, but For young kids, it's really important that they do start to understand that money does not just, come from a card in your wallet, that it is something that's earned and that is not infinite, and that eventually they will be earning it as well. And so the earlier, the better. You can start with 3 years old and start talking to them about saving. If you're giving them any money, if they're family members, if your family members are giving them money, talk about saving, talk about the spending, and talk about giving. And I think that one especially is really important so that kids get into the habit of giving, whether it's tithing or giving to the community. It's a really important concept for young kids to get. And piggy banks are great. When kids turn, I believe it's 14 or 15, that's usually when I get my kids their bank account. And getting a child a bank account at that age is so crucial because you can manage it with them for, 4 to 5 years before they're going off to college and getting thrown into that all by themselves. So if you can start as early as 12 or 14, however your banks work. And the other one that is a tip that I got from somebody else is that your child should have a credit card as soon as they have a source of income. Yes. And the reason why is because most people get into debt in college and they never get out. When you go to college, when you go to your freshman orientation or whatever it is, do you know what they have there? They have booths of credit card companies already trying to advertise and get your kids on board so that they will literally be in debt to them for the rest of their lives. So if your child can get a credit card as soon as they have a source of income, or maybe even beforehand, and you can once again over the years teach them how to manage it, how important it is to pay your credit debt every month. Then when they get to college, they won't be bombarded with, oh, look, I just have $1,000 I can spend. No, you don't. That $1,000 is going to be, whatever it is with interest, and it's going to really imprison you for the rest of your life. So the earlier you can get your kids used to dealing and managing with money and understanding how it works, understanding how bank accounts work, understanding how interest and savings and even the stock market works, the better they're going to be long term. So next, I want to talk a little bit about the pitfalls that we women have with money. I always go back to Suze Orman because I've been reading her books and I've been, listening to her for many, many years. And as a young woman, she has helped me so much and really understanding the role that money needs to play in my life. And so I talked before about the fact that I don't remember what the percentage was now, but a large percentage of women are the main breadwinners in the family. Not only that, we outlive men. Because of that, it is so very crucial that we are in charge and know and understand our money. And so what are the main pitfalls? We lack confidence. And even like today, me talking to Diane Gardner, I was like, I don't know what in the world she's talking about. I mean, I know some things, obviously. I mean, I've been paying taxes for lots and lots of years. But even still, I didn't know all of what she was talking about. And it makes me feel like I don't even know what to ask because I don't know what she's talking about. And I think that we get into that cycle of, I don't understand finances, so I'm just going to leave it to those other people. And leaving it to those other people leaves us vulnerable because we don't understand. And so I understand sometimes it's confusing and it's tricky. And if you're lacking confidence in the area, then what I would suggest is just start reading little by little. There's little, like finances for dummies, start there. Start with Suze Orman stuff because it's really good and it's geared specifically to women and things that we need to be aware of. The other pitfall is that we sweat the small stuff. So I talked about this earlier. We're so good with finding deals. We're so good with coupon cutting. We do a lot of that stuff, which is great because I think that it does serve our family. But imagine if you spent the same amount of time, and I'm not telling you women not to coupon cut. I'm not. I know for some of you women that do that, it is huge. But imagine if you spent that same amount of time looking for deals, coupon clipping, instead researching and investing, because that actually will create a bigger return over time. We tend to think small when it comes to our money instead of thinking big. And so I'm just challenging you to learn a little bit more about investing, about big things with your money, in addition to the small things that you do for your family, which is good. It is a way that you serve your family, obviously, finding deals. And, hey, we women like deals. The other pitfall is that we wait for someone else to come along and fix the problem. I think there's still an epidemic of us seeing ourselves as secondary earners and relying on men to make the financial moves or decisions. And even for women who are primary earners, we still have this same kind of mindset. I have a client in my practice right now, and she's the primary earner. And she's still kind of deferring and relying on her husband to make some of those big financial decisions. And when we look at the hierarchy of the family, absolutely. I'm not saying that we don't defer to our husbands in that way, but we also have to recognize that waiting for our husbands to take care of something that's not taken care of is not a good idea. Because then not only are we waiting for something that might not happen, but then we tend to blame when things don't get taken care of, when we really should have been taking care of it to begin with. So those are some of the pitfalls that women sometimes get into when it comes to money. And ladies, I'm just trying to encourage you and empower you to be on top of and to learn and to know and to take care of your money. So when it comes to dating and relationships and money, I talked about the fact that money, of course, sex is the other big thing, but money is really one of those biggest things that people have issues with. So what are questions that you can ask a mate and sometimes even your husband, because these are, you should be talking about money with your husband, but what are questions you can also ask somebody as you're getting into a relationship to be able to understand more about how they deal with money? A good question to ask is, did both of your parents work? And how did they handle their income? That will give you an idea of how he is probably going to handle income and what he is going to expect out of your relationship, because that's familiar to him. Another one is, what are your financial regrets? And so that's a really big one because you can understand choices that he's made in the past. Doesn't mean he's going to necessarily make those choices in the future, but as people talk about their regrets, you can get an idea of how much they learned from them and how much they are continuing to repeat those same patterns. Another one is, do your parents pay any of your bills? So why is this a good one? Because you can figure out, how financially independent are you? Are you financially independent? Are you in a place where you can, move forward as an independent man? The next one is, where does your paycheck go? So that's going to give you an indication of what he spends his money on and maybe even how much he has left over, so that you can get an idea of, are we in sync? Are we something that can gel together and move together in the same way? Do we have the same values? And the other one is, of course, how do you track your money? Now, this one is important when it comes to joint bank accounts, because when you have a joint bank account and one person's balancing it and the other person's like, I just kind of guess, that's a lot of times where conflict comes in. And so you want to know, how does he track his money? Is he aware of what's there or what isn't there? The next one you want to know is, do you pay any of your parents' bills? Or even more important, it's, does anyone depend on you financially? So are you sending monthly checks to anybody? And this is very important because, your partner might say, oh, yes, this is my income. And this is, what bills I have. But then he forgot to mention that, he's paying his mom's rent, or he's paying his brother's, tuition. And so you get together and then you realize that there's a big aspect of the money that's missing. And it also tells you where his priorities are. And if you know this kind of thing up front, then you don't have to be angry about it. You can be aware of it. And then maybe, it could be a conversation that you can talk about moving forward. So we are getting ready to go on break. I have a couple of more questions that you need to ask your mate. And then I'm going to be talking about healthy qualities of wealthy women. I'll be back in just a minute.
People ask me, how do you have so much energy? I am not a coffee drinker, but I love the benefits of matcha green tea. More antioxidants than coffee and a smooth energy, not the jittery kind that lasts me all day long. Perfect for you supermoms too. I have searched the world over for that perfect matcha for my smoothies, and I have found it at Kiss Me Organics. You can get it too at kissmeorganics.com. Enter the promo code Dr. Zoe, DRZOE, for 10% off and free shipping. Experience the smooth, healthy, organic energy of matcha green tea. KissMeOrganics.com.
Hi, guys, it's Dr. Zoe, and I am back talking all about women and your money. And so I've been talking about questions to ask your mate, whether really you're, just getting together with them or thinking about a long-term relationship or even married already. These are things that you should definitely know. And the questions that I was explaining are also questions that you should be answering. So if your, mate hasn't thought to ask you those types of questions, it's great to sit down and have some money talk and answer these questions for him so that both of you guys can be on the same page. So I went through a few, and the last ones that I wanted to talk about is asking your mate, what splurge would you never give up? Because when you're both honest about this, it's easy to find common ground and to make that road ahead of you much smoother. You learn so much about him and his priorities. And then you also know, okay, I'm not going to be trying to get that out of our life. That's going to be a payment that he's going to be making because that's a splurge for him and it's important. And then you can also, like I said, answer the same one. And then the next one, which is very crucial, is what are your financial goals in 10 years? So 10 years from now, what do you want your financial life to look like? And this will tell you if you guys are on the same page, if you can move in the same direction together. And it's so informative because both of you guys can start planning if you want to continue this relationship for 10 years down the road. And when you're both on the same page, it's so much easier to hit those goals. So those are my questions. So next, and this comes from Suze Orman, who I've been talking about. I just love her, is the 8 qualities of wealthy women. Because today we're talking about money. We're talking about keeping it, saving it, growing it. And so Suze has done some research, obviously, on what are the qualities that wealthy women have. And I thought it was so interesting because these qualities have nothing to do specifically with managing money, but it has to do with who they are as people. So the first one is harmony and balance. Now that's interesting. And that does sound kind of, general, but harmony is the agreement and feeling approach and sympathy. So it's like an agreeable interaction, and it goes well with balance because balance, of course, is the state of emotional and rational stability in which you are calm and able to make sound judgments. So these qualities go together because you can't effectively have one, of course, without the other. When you do have a harmonious spirit, what you say, think, and feel align with one another. So I think when we look at harmony and balance, we really need to look at that. The things that I say are important. Is that where my money goes or is it not? And so you need to start evaluating that. And the things that I say are important. Is that really what's important to me? Because there's been a saying like, look at how people spend their money and that tells you what their priorities are. And so you need to start looking at, are those in alignment? Because women who are wealthy, those tend to be in alignment. The next one is courage. Now, when I talked about lack of self-esteem with money and women, we need to develop some of that courage and esteem. It's the ability to face danger, difficulties, uncertainty, or pain without being overcome by fear. Because when it comes to money, when we are overcome by fear, we generally don't make good decisions. We hoard it when we shouldn't, and we spend it when we shouldn't. And so courage is one of those big things so that you're not a slave to your money, so that you can really think and maybe, take some leaps of faith and invest, because fear is the false evidence, right? Appearing real. So you can't allow your fears to control me, whether it's a fear of losing money or, the fear of not being stable. You've got to make sure that your money decisions are not being ruled by fear. The next is generosity. And I talked about instilling this in your children because wealthy people are generous. But here's the thing. Wealthy people aren't only generous after they become wealthy. They've learned the quality of giving to actually continue to create wealth because it is, I know sometimes it can sound kind of woo-woo, but it is so true. What you put out into the world comes back to you. And so generosity, of course, is giving the right thing to the right person at the right time, and it benefits both of you. So yes, even though you might not feel like financially you're in a place where you can give, I suggest that you start trying to give a little bit, because you'll recognize that giving does come back to you. The next one is happiness. And it's funny because as you listen to this, a lot of it isn't about, what you're doing on your bank account, right? It's about how you're living your life. And so happiness, of course, is being in a state of well-being and contentment. And we know that happiness is a choice, and you have to be happy with little. And if you're happy with little, then you will be happy with a lot. So it's really finding that ability to be optimistic about your situation, where you are. Like if you're not feeling happy, try and figure out why you're not feeling happy and start from there. Maybe you're not being appropriately compensated at work, or you're always tired of giving of yourself and not having it reciprocated. Think about what's making you unhappy and develop the courage to choose to do something different. So remember, we all know what of insanity, right, is doing that same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. So when it comes to your money, if you're not happy about what's going on with your money in your life, choose to make different decisions than the ones that you generally tend to make. And the next is wisdom. Wisdom is the knowledge and experience needed to make sensible decisions. So, okay, that is absolutely the most important quality. And then the question is, how do we gain wisdom? Because maybe we weren't given the opportunity to learn or understand wisdom, or understand what we should be doing with our money. And wisdom, of course, shows us how to shut out the noise in our lives. Because, of course, we're inundated all day. Now with the internet, you can just spend money 24/7. You don't even have to leave your house. And so you really do have to operate in wisdom when it comes to your money. And part of the wisdom, ladies, is knowing what your faults are. So if you know that you tend to want to buy that high heel on Amazon, well, Amazon doesn't have good clothes. Okay, on, I don't know what website, don't go browsing, because you can buy it with the click of a button. So you really have to know, where are your deficits and where are your strengths? And you need to make sure that you're operating and avoiding and working on building up those deficits. And so that is wisdom. So ladies, those are some of my health tips today for you, your family, your life. Thank you for tuning into the Dr. Zoe Show. Tune in next week and every week on Tuesdays from 12 to 1 Pacific and 3 to 4 Eastern at laradionow.com. For those who can't always listen live, check out the reruns of my show. They come out every Tuesday morning now on iTunes, Google Play, Libsyn, and YouTube, where I am your life and relationship coach. I help sometimes struggling superwomen keep your mind in the game by redefining your superwoman. If you know a friend who might benefit from any of our show topics, please spread the love and share my show. And if you like my show, please show me some love with stars. Connect with me at drzoeshaw.com or any of my social medias at the handle Dr. Zoe Shaw. And I already talked to you about joining my free newsletter. So I look forward to speaking to you wonderful ladies on social media after the show. Have a super week.
You've been listening to The Dr. Zoe Show, redefining your superwoman, with your host, Dr. Zoe Shaw. Don't forget to sign up for her monthly newsletters to get encouragement, tips, and skills for keeping your mind in the superwoman game. Connect with her now at www.drzoeshaw.com. Tell your friends and subscribe to her podcast on iTunes. Join us next time for another edition of The Dr. Zoe Show.